Hi, I'm Caitlin. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some autumn book recommendations. So I've got 6 books here for you. Most of them are actually fantasy leaning. I didn't realise that when I put this list together. All of them really highly rated by me, and I think they're perfect for the season. So I'm going to start with my most recent read, and that is People Watching by Hannah Bonam-Young. That's the actual cover, but I have this gorgeous art copy. It's very pretty. There was 2 versions. There was this one with Prue, and then there was a Milo version who's the other main character. So in here we follow Prue, who's struggling with her mother's diagnosis of early onset Alzheimer's. Her and her father are doing their best to try and handle things themselves and to not uproot too much of their mum's schedule. So she's dealing with all of that, plus, being a 25-year-old, 26-year-old who's never had a boyfriend, who's kind of feeling quite lonely. And then Milo comes to town to spend some time with his brother and sister-in-law and help them get their bar up and running. So Milo and Prue get into an agreement that he will help her learn all there is to know about being in a relationship, and the things that happen in relationships. And yeah, inevitably feelings become apparent, and yeah, we see the fallout of that. I really enjoyed this. It did feel like the perfect autumnal read. I actually read it a couple weeks ago in summer, but I think it's going to do great this autumn. Not only is the cover very autumnal, but the vibes match that. I really loved the 2 main characters. They just felt incredibly real. Milo was very funny and likable, and just the dialogue between all the characters and their families and things was just really great. So yeah, I really enjoyed the town as well. I hope that we hear more from other characters in this series. I hope it becomes a series more like, and we hear more from other characters from this book, because it was very fun. So yeah, I think that's my only like straight up romance pick. But next up on the list we have Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. So I am a huge fan of the movie, like one of my favourite movies ever. And I just never picked up the book, so I picked this up either the beginning of this year or last year. And whilst it is quite different to the movie, it still has a lot of the same like notes to it, and I still got enjoyment out of the book. So if you've not watched the movie or read the book, we follow Sally and Gillian. I forgot her name. In this we follow Sally and Gillian, 2 sisters whose parents both pass when they're young, so they're in the care of their aunts. And the aunts are witches, and they're like hated by the town that they're in because they're just different. So the girls have very different views of their upbringing. Gillian leaves when she's like 16, doesn't come back, just goes traveling from place to place, people to people. But Sally tries to get as far away from magic and witches as she can, and have a normal life. Meets a man, has 2 children, but unfortunately he also passes away. There's a curse on their family, so all of the women tend to lose their husbands too young, kind of thing. So then this novel actually picks up when Gillian and Sally are adults, and Gillian comes back into Sally's life unexpectedly and needing her help with something. And yeah, in the movie we focus on the small town quite a bit more, whereas in the book we're focused in Sally and in Sally's house around her children a bit more than that. But yeah, and they're not witches who do like lots of magic, like that's not a massive thing. It's more like little things to like help along your day, or they just seem to have an affinity for certain things, like just the one slightly lucky or something like that. Like it's not magic as we're used to seeing it. It's kind of just alluded to in there, rather than actually talked about. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and like I said, although it is different to the movie, it still is great on its own. It's actually part of a series. I think this might even be book 3, but it does stand on its own as a standalone too. But I would love to go back and read the rest of them at some point, just to feel the vibes of Alice Hoffman some more. The rest of the books I've picked are actually I have some gorgeous special editions of them, which I tend to buy special editions even if I haven't read the book, but it just so happens that these were all really great, so I'm glad I got the special editions of them. The first one is Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood, and this is the lovely Waterstones edition with the sprayed edges. And it's also signed. In this we follow Belladonna, who is a witch who tries not to be a witch and doesn't do magic hardly at all. She works in a little bookstore that she absolutely loves and is trying to lead a very normal life. But on the dawn of her 30th birthday, she has to go to kind of like a trial, would you say? A summons from her coven and a trial that tests her worthiness as a witch. And they kind of measure up all the spells that you've done over your life and all the ways you've used your magic, and they come to the conclusion that she hasn't used it enough, so they're going to take it from her. But that's when she decides that she actually really wants that in her life. She doesn't want to be without the ability to do magic. So she works with kind of like a mentor, someone else in her coven, who's gonna like get her up to scratch with all the magical know-how. She then see if ultimately she's worthy of keeping her powers. But I really enjoyed this one. I love Lucy Jane Wood anyway. She's originated out on a YouTube channel, like a lifestyle YouTube, so I've watched her for years. But it was lovely to see some of her work, and she writes how she speaks. So it, like she's just got a really great, not like me, she's just got an incredible way with words, which is how she also speaks. So it's lovely to see that here. You can like hear her voice definitely in this novel, and I really enjoyed that it was more, it wasn't really a romance. There was touches of romance in there, like more of the idea of a romance. It was more of a finding yourself, discovering yourself story than a romance, which I really enjoyed. Like romance was a subplot, if anything, which is I think one of my favourite ways to read romance in like a fantasy novel. Next up then we have The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy, which is entirely backwards to what I just said about romance in a fantasy novel, because this is more of a rom-com but set in a fantastical world. So we are in the town of, it's been a while, Tanria. So we are in the world of Tanria, and we have Hart, who is a marshal that patrols the wilds of this world to keep out stray spirits, I think it is. And then Mercy, who is an undertaker. She's taken over her father's business as an undertaker, and so Hart collects the bodies of people, and if they're outside of town limits, their souls have risk of like escaping and then being terrors. So Mercy then has to reunite the souls with the bodies in order to lay them to rest properly. But Hart and Mercy do not get on. They have this rivalry going on that no one really knows where it started, but it's just a continued thing throughout their lives, and they just don't really like each other. But one day, when Hart is out like on a mission, patrolling, he gets really lonely and decides to write a letter just signed to a friend. And there's like a magical post service in the world, so it ends up getting delivered to Mercy, because she is also quite lonely. So the magical post just decided that she was the one who needed to receive it. So they just start writing letters back and forth to each other, but not knowing that the other person's receiving them, and forming a kind of friendship through that. But they're also facing their own trials and tribulations and things. So yeah, it says here it's based on You've Got Mail, the movie. Like it's got those kind of vibes to it. But it's incredibly cozy. I really love the world. I don't think there's a map in here, but I would appreciate a map. Is there? No, there should be. I really love the world. I love the two main characters, and they're like snarky enemies to lovers relationship is one of my favourites. Also I have this gorgeous fairy loot edition with the edges, and this is my favourite bit. It's got like little Polaroid pictures in the front. I can't remember if they're different in the back. Yes, they're different in the back. It's very cute. This one is actually part of a series, so there's 3 books. The third one's recently come out, but I have only read the first one so far. and I absolutely love this one, so can't wait to read the rest. Possibly we'll do a reread of this one in order to read the rest, because it's been quite a while now since I read this one. Last but one then is The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune. I'd say this is one of his least talked about works, which is strange because it's his newest, I think. I can't remember if this or Somewhere Beyond the Sea came out first. Oh, most recently, sorry, but it's one of his newest works. It's set in the spring of 1995, but it does feel very autumnal to me, not very spring, like maybe just because of the fantastical vibes to it. But Nate is in a really unfortunate position where work's not going great. His parents have passed away and it's just him and his brother, but they don't get on. And he ends up going to his parents' old cabin in Oregon. And when he gets there, there's a man and a young girl who are squatting in his cabin essentially. And he kind of gets wrapped up in their tale of why they're there. They're on the run, and like why they're on the run, and like slightly weird and strange things keep happening around him. And that's pretty much all we follow. That's all I'm going to tell you. Yeah, like I said, this is one of his lesser known or lesser talked about books. I haven't really heard much about it on the internet, but I did really enjoy it. It's not my favourite of his works, but it does feel very right for this time of year. Maybe because of the supernatural vibes and going into spooky season, but it was still really great. And I love the sprayed edges on this. This has TJ Klune's trademark heartfelt writing. Always managed to make me cry in all of his stories, but also laugh. Then I'm like laughing and crying in tandem. But yeah, it was very good. And then finally, this is probably my favourite what I would class as an autumnal read, and that is The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. Maclean. That's because this is a cozy fantasy, which is one of my favourite genres to read this time of year. Once again, I do have this lovely edition. This one's actually a Lumicrate edition with the gorgeous printed hardcover and the spread edges. And then I also really love the end papers. Like the whole thing about it is gorgeous and signature. So pretty. And like, so there's also inside, there's a map. We love a map. There's on each, like at the beginning of each part, there is a description of a magical animal, which is a big plot point of this story. So we follow, I'm really crap with names. Ayla. Ayla is how I say her name. I'm not sure if that's correct. But in this we follow Ayla. She is the Phoenix Keeper in a magical zoo, where all of the animals are magical, and she absolutely loves her job. She loves everything about birds, especially phoenixes, and she's really great at caring for them. The phoenix that she has in her zoo is one of the last, so they set up a breeding program with another zoo to try and breed this these birds back, ready for the wild. She's a very private person, and to garner some attention and help from the public, they decide to put the breeding program online and get support from the internet basically for these decisions. So they have like a camera set up so you can watch the eggs and the birds and things. So with all of this newfound publicity, Ayla kind of struggles with all of the fame and things that this is garnering. Also alongside that, there is the Griffin Keeper Luciana, who they have a bit of a rivalry going on. They just don't really get along. They kind of rub each other up the wrong way. And yeah, they start having to work together a bit more. So we have a little bit of romance in there too, but it's mostly a fantasy. And I absolutely love the world. I love the zoo. Hearing about all the animals. It's not just the phoenixes that we see in the birds that she cares for, is like all of the other magical animals. I did love reading about Ayla's journey, and she's neurodivergent, which is really great to see in a fantasy novel, not just a contemporary. And seeing her like overcome some of her struggles and things is really refreshing, I think. But yeah, this was great, and it's like quite, how long is it? It's quite long. It's like 460 pages, and I flew through it in like 2 days. It's very good. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. This just feels like a warm hug for this time of year. So these were my 6 full recommendations. Again, mostly fantasy, a little bit of romance in there too, but I think those are the vibes that I'm going into fall with. It's romance and fantasy. But yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, what your thoughts were, or if you plan to read any of them. And if you want any more recommendations, I will try my best to give some. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to leave a like and a comment down below, and I will see you again in another video.